Hello, this is a video about sonnets. Sonnets are traditionally love poems. They're about how much one loved somebody. For example, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? It's basically making that comparison. I love that poem, sorry. Making that comparison, it's I love you this much. Also details unrequited love quite often. So it's like, oh, this is so sad. I love you, but you do not love me, alas. Sonnets themselves originated in 13th century Italy. They were created by I had to use Google Translate there because I am hopeless at pronunciation, so I hope that sounds better. The first famous sonnet poet was called Petra. I think that's what we call him in England. I think there's a different spelling for Italians, but he's like the big guy for poetry. Well, poetry, I mean sonnets. Sonnets, Petra was the one. There's so many essays like, was Shakespeare a Petrarchian or whatever? To be honest, I don't think it really matters, but it's quite an interesting subject to look into. Eventually, sonnets came over to Britain, and they've obviously spread quite a lot. We had Shakespeare writing loads of sonnets, loads of people, and we still listen to them today. There's a bit more on modern sonnets later. As you can see, the Italian form, the original sonnet form, was very restrictive because we've only got A, B, C, D and E for 14 lines, so it's really keeping you very trapped in this tight scheme of rhyme, scheme of rhyme. And it's also all in iambic pentameter, so it's very stuck. You've got to stick to it. Obviously, you can draw connections about that and love if you want to do some deep analysis, but that's not really what I'm here for. And obviously, you can see my little drawing of ABBA at the bottom there. I was going to use a photo, but then I thought that might be breaching copyright laws, so I drew them for you. So, talking about the form itself, the first 4 lines there, in the first little stanza, little quatrain, that's the theme. It basically states the theme of the poem, what it's going to be about in Old Italian form. Second little quatrain, and those 2 quatrains together form an octet. That builds the theme, so it goes, woo, this is more and more and more about the theme. And then we've got CDE, CDE, which is a sestet, and apparently between the second set of abbas and this first CDE, we've got our volta, which means to turn, and that bit is where the poem sort of turns on its head. So up to the end of the abba bit, it's sort of just building the theme, developing the theme, and then after that it's sort of wrapping the poem up and closing the theme. To be honest, it's 14 lines, like they hardly have time to do anything in this poem, but they can be so effective. Then when they came over to England, and even within Italy itself, everyone started experimenting. They went crazy, and we got a new form of sonnet over here that's quite famous in Britain, which is the Shakespearean form, which is a lot less constrained. It's still an iambic pentameter, but it's a lot less constraining, and it's A B A B, C D C D, E F E F, G G. You might notice that little rhyming couplet at the end is a typical Shakespearean twist, because he often likes to use rhyming couplets to denote the ends of scenes and acts within his plays. For example, Measure for Measure, that wonderful play, ends with, so bring us to our palace where we'll show what's yet behind that smeat you all should know. Apparently if you pronounce these things properly, the way you're meant to pronounce them, they actually sound like proper English and proper, that's how you're meant to talk, and it sounds all fluent, whereas when I read it, it just sounds really like, what the hell, totally dead. You can tell from my voice I've been ill of late, sorry. Also 10 points to anybody who gets the literary reference from that little drawing at the bottom, which is horrific, but I thought it might just be a stimulus, maybe, I don't know. Then people started to go a bit crazy. They decided to twist it up and jazz it up, do what they wanted. So there's different forms by Spenser, Keats and Milton. People quite often like to change the ending of their sonnets, so Shakespeare had a rhyming couplet, some people did different things. So there's lots and lots of variety, just going all through time. And now we've got lots of modern sonnets, and they're in those little things because great English here, those little things because they're slightly controversial, some of them. So you might get some 16-line sonnets, which isn't really a sonnet if you ask me, but apparently they're published as sonnets and people accept them as sonnets, which is just a bit weird. They stretch beyond people. Some people are famous for writing about nature, some people write about animals and their love for animals, hopefully like socially acceptable love for animals, and just all kinds of different poems that they call sonnets. And some of them are really cool, like here, modern twists on older sonnets. A poem that I'm doing for my speech and drama is Wendy Strugnell's Bargain, which is based on a song from Arcadia by Phillip. So it's basically, that's a really old poem that is quite good. I do prefer the Wendy version. It's a bit more upbeat. So it's basically taking old poems and taking the mick out of them, sort of wrapping them up, making them it's sort of satirical, very satirical. It's basically playing with ideas. One of my favourite poets, Richard Siken, not quite sure how to pronounce it, he wrote a sonnet. It's not even a sonnet, it's just a 14-line poem. It's not really a sonnet, called Scheherazade. I can't pronounce it. It's the first poem in Crush, and it starts, "Tell me about the dream where we pull the bodies out of the lake," and it's honestly one of the most amazing poems, so I'd go look it up now if I were you. And it's basically to do with the false construction of love. So you quite often get 14-line poems that aren't sonnets, as in they're not written in iambic pentameter or anything like that, with all the rhyming and everything, but they're to do with love and they're to do with the breakdown of love rather than the building up and this idea of true love. It's to do with love falling apart. Though, to be honest, the Strugnell poem, yeah, great pronunciation, is it's to do with love and love through lies. It's a crazy poem and I adore it. I went off on a slight tangent there, but I just adore that poem. Oh. Yeah, that's a short video about the sonnet form and a bit of random stuff about the sonnet that you'll probably never ever need to know. Woo! Hope it helped and have a lovely day.